Assalamu alaikum. Check this. I have the best business idea, or an amazing business idea. I have the business idea that would definitely save so many Muslim women from having failed marriages. And I've been thinking about it for time. I think somebody mentioned something a little similar in the comments one day, and I was like, "Ooh, we're on the same wavelength here. Maybe we've got a business proposition." Should we say what it is right now? We're only like 30 seconds in. Give me 2 minutes. Right. Basically, there is definitely okay. It's basically a Wally service. I'll just say it's basically like a Wally service, which I would love to have done and get a few people like me, elders as well, to do. But let me explain, okay? So a lot of Muslim women have issues with their fathers. Obviously, okay, their father seems to be not necessarily out of touch, but there's cultural reasons. Okay, we're third generation, everything was a bit weird for them, generational trauma, all of that. 100% is a real thing. Okay, well now we're in a time where I'd say we're kind of fully integrated into the West. Okay, and men are dogs. To put it simply, men are dogs. I'm not saying women aren't, yeah, but a lot of Muslim men have kind of by doing haram have kind of spread themselves amongst the line and become accustomed to the Western norms, or become accustomed to the non-Muslim way. Okay, when I say that, I mean like the sex, the drugs, the partying, the weed. That's drugs anyway. The gambling, the things that are haram, that people are doing on a low, the flirtatious things, the having a couple sightings here, second phones, rare. Men are kind of navigating like that. Listen, men know what men are like. I've said this a million times. Yeah, I know what men are like. You might not see something with a man. A woman might not see something with a man that I can see very blatantly. Just like in one of the last videos, I said how you can look at somebody and say that he's Bangladeshi. I can look at a man, I'll tell you if he smokes weed. I can sit with him for 5 minutes, I'll tell you if he's linking next girl. Well, definitely if we're spending like a few days together, I'll tell you if he's linking next girl. I'll know his sexual history if he does have a history. I can tell what kind of person he is, what kind of things he's experienced in the past, unless he's like a flipping high functioning sociopath. Now, just quickly, the reason that we're here right now is because there were kind of like it was kind of always going to go like that. So, for instance, being a parent of children, not me, but let's say there's a mom and dad and they've got children. The daughter is going to have a different type of restriction on her in terms of curfew than the man will have, than the son will have. Okay, so the daughters might have like a 10 o'clock curfew, 9 o'clock curfew, whatever age this is, yeah. And the son might have the same curfew, but it's not as dangerous for him to be out as late. And because it's not as dangerous for him to be out as late as because he's not open or susceptible to the same things, such as, you know what I'm talking about, innit, yeah? Men fight, men can defend themselves in that kind of way. You aren't really going to see men getting essayed on the street. It's not going to happen. Women, that's a legitimate risk. You don't want your women's chastity to disappear. You don't want your women to become promiscuous or tempted by the nightlife. But men were kind of made for the night, okay? The problem is, when you put men out in the night, you put a group of men together, there are only two things that they're going to navigate towards: money or women. So they're going to find a way towards women, or they're going to find a way towards money. The way they find a way towards money is probably not going to be legal. And the way they find towards women is obviously going to be haram. That's the problem, okay? So when you're letting them breach curfews and things like this, and you can't keep your sons in check, they're obviously doing haram things. Fast forward a bit, when it comes to marriage and you're passing your son off or your daughter off as a virgin or as chaste or whatever you want to do, which is a whole different conversation, how do you know physically, how can you tell if a man is a virgin? You can't, okay? A woman, if she still has her hymen intact, and I understand there are ways in which it could break, but it's rare. A woman, you can tell she's a virgin. She's going to bleed, okay? Not only that, but in the bedroom, it would be a lot harder for a woman to feign sexual experience than a man, okay? It would just be a lot harder. So it's easier to identify when a woman, even if she didn't bleed, is sexually inexperienced as opposed to when a man is sexually inexperienced. We have different anatomies, okay? One of us have a key, one of us have a lock. Simple. Now the problem is now, because obviously women have the pressure of virginity and being chaste, and it's true, our women are on a much higher station in the way that you have to look after them than the men are. That's I think that's a beautiful thing, really. When you start talking about modern feminism and stuff like that, it starts trying to switch roles and make everything complicated. But the women are the precious jewels in which you have to protect, okay? So it just so happens that the women of Islam are a lot more pious than the men. Okay, you do get looks. Don't believe Instagram and just scroll down the feeds and think that, oh, because you see random things on Instagram, the girls are as bad as the guys. They're not. Okay, the girls are much better than the guys. The guys are out here being wild. Not that women aren't, and you can say down the line maybe it'll even itself out a bit. But the men are dogs. Okay, men are dogs, and that's the way it is. We have different tests. I think you guys have emotional tests. I think we have more physical tests. That's the way it goes. Okay. Now with the men being haram and gain, look, everybody can turn a corner. Everybody can start again. I pray that if you have gone down this path, you've done as little as possible. Okay, it is possible for your friends and family and whatever to be doing certain things and for you to avoid it. It really, really is. It is possible for you to move in certain circles and you be the one that hasn't done the things that the other one. It is possible. So I pray that you are as innocent and halal as possible. And if not, may Allah forgive you and protect you and hide all of your sins. Okay, but the way it's going is that the men have experience and the women don't. And because the women don't, the women do not know how to identify what this crooked man is. Because the women had strained relationships with their fathers, who anyone can black the father. The fathers are more bothered about whether he's Pakistani or whether he's from this tribe and just what kind of money he makes. They don't care if he's a crook. Okay, they don't care if he's linking next girl. They don't care if he's like a bit of a gambler. They don't care because they don't know how to they don't know how to identify these things. They're fully ill-equipped with how to identify these things. I can sweet up a next girl. Obviously, not me, but I'm saying if I was a crook, I can sweet up a next man's dad. That was gay. I could sweet up a next a next woman's dad very, very easily, especially one from a certain kind of background who doesn't really know about like street. He doesn't have street value. Or when I'm saying street value, I don't mean that we're fighting on street. I mean there's like a cultural value down here, isn't there? The Western culture. If your culture is back there and you're so religious and you don't really know how it goes. You don't know how it goes, and us down here on the ground, we know how it goes. The same way when you go to another country and you get this like little boat excursion, or you buy this little thing from the souks and that, and you're getting ripped off. You don't know that you're getting ripped off because you don't know how much it's meant to cost. Okay, women, you don't know the value. You're just letting this guy come and waffle in your face and then getting played for a fool, and you're finding out that actually he's a bit of a gallus. Actually, he was linking next girls. Actually, he was smoking weed. Actually, he had a little something. Do you know what I mean? Because you guys don't know how to identify it. Now, this is where my business idea came in. I wanted to make a service, which was a wali service. And it consisted of people like me who are married and have certain experience of the world and are able to identify nonsense. Okay, so what would happen, for instance, a woman would hire me or hire whoever, okay, and this is you send your potential guy to come. You'd hire me basically, or send it's like a therapist basically, but I'm not a therapist. You'd hire me and your guy, your potential husband, the guy that you're trying to marry. He would come and spend, let's say, 15 days with me. Spread it out over 15 weeks, 1 day a week for 15 weeks or something like that. Or 10 days over 10 weeks. He'll come and spend a day with me. And what I would do in those 10 days is I would take him to a range of places, okay? So we'd go and do something religious. We'd go to a really expensive part of the neighborhood and do some things there. We'd go to a really poor part of the neighborhood and do some things there. We'd go around his cultural people. We'd go around your cultural people. We'd go to the gym. I'd go to places where there are women. Yeah. I'd go to places where there are different type of things happening. I'd see how he interacts with people in this setting. I'd see how he interacts with people in this setting. We travel for a day. I would spend a certain amount of time with this person, okay? And obviously you would have a list of things that you wanted to know from me. Now, at the end of that time that I spent with him, I'll be able to feed back to you and say, look, he is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You make your decision. The problem is, and it's very, very clear to me. I'll be able to tell by the way that the guy's moving around women if he's a gallus. Yeah, if he's sexually experienced, if he's a bit weird around women, if he's got like some weird like anger problems, if he just says these out of pocket things, which I'm like, that was weird, get rid of him. If he was like had kind of like some kind of criminal tendencies, if he was a drug user, mental health issues, I would be able to identify those things very, very easily. Okay. And I'm sure there are a range of people that would be able to identify those things very, very clearly, very, very easily. The problem is that I'm Muslim and I can't out a next man's sins. Okay. So I couldn't come back to you and, for instance, and say, look, I know you're a virgin and you want to marry a virgin. I'm going to put my money on that he's not a virgin. Okay. I can't say that and out his sins. It's not my place to say that. What I could say, for instance, is, I would make my peace. I've got to say something like vague, like I would make my peace with some things. And let's say it turned out to me that I thought we was sexually experienced, but he wasn't going to do anything like that a day. And look, Allahu Alam, who knows if he's going to do something? But let's say that I was convinced that he wasn't going to. Say, look, I would just make my peace with certain things, and put some faith in your relationship, and make istikhara and proceed forward. But there are certain things that I don't think that you should bring up in conversations. As a matter of fact, I think that there are certain things you shouldn't bring up in conversations. Anyway, I think asking people about their sexual history is a bit of a weird question, but we can go into that another time. And this is like a whole different conversation. I'm not just talking about guys, I'm talking about girls as well. Really interesting conversation I'd like to have. I can't out a next man's sins. There is like, you are as a Muslim allowed to say, for instance, that let's say someone's bad with money and someone's going to marry them. You can say, look, this guy's really not good with money. And you can warn them about that. I don't think you can warn somebody that somebody's not a virgin, or I think you can warn somebody that in the past he used to smoke weed. I don't know what they're. I don't know. It gets a bit techie. It gets a bit complicated. Yeah, and I'm not trying to go to hell by outing next man. But also, on top of that, yeah, like I'll be able to identify it 100%. On top of that, the issue is that I would have to hire a team of people to do this. Okay. It can't just be me. So, and I can think of my brother that I would trust. Maybe, if I'm saying probably not, I can just think of my brother. I can think of me and I can think of my brother. People that I know that could definitely pull that off, and won't be funny about it, right? The problem is, I think that because of where we are in modern times, the age range of the people, so the age range of that person the person that you'd hire, like the person like me, he would have to be married, because if he's not married, it's going to compromise the whole relationship thing, innit? It's a single man looking for a girl. He'd have to be older. So what? He'd have to be 10 years. Well, I'm in 30s, isn't it? So anyway, he'd have to be married. He'd have to be a bit older. He'd have to be a bit wiser. We're at a certain time where the people with that type of experience, I would say, are like 50 max. Okay, 50 years old maximum. For them to be really clued up on how to identify these type of things. And the average people, they'll be like 40s, say like me, 35s, and then going up to like maybe 45s. Okay, they'll be in that bracket somewhere. Now, do I really trust a group of men? Let's say like a girl comes to, let's just imagine this guy, yeah, and he's like 42 or something like that, and he's married and he's got his kids or whatever, yeah, and this young little pretty Pakistani girl comes to him and she's 25 years old, and she's saying, oh, this guy, I'm hiring you, can you go and take him out and spend 10 days with him or whatever? Obviously, you'd have to make this a real thing so that the guys know that this is a wali service. Basically, you go to the wali service. I want to know if you're appropriate for me. So go to the wali guys, innit? Go to the waliks. Is that anyway? I've not thought that far through. Go to the wali guys, right? And let them give you the once over. If you're serious about me, go and do it. And it's just like saying go to marriage counselling, go to the wali guys, yeah. So you'd have to get them to actually cooperate, because I can't just drag a man off the street. And when this 25-year-old girl goes to this 42-year-old man, can I really vouch or trust that this 42-year-old guy is not going to pick out all the problems in this potential spouse? Yeah, let's say he has got some kind of history, or let's say he had a weird thing in one kind of conversation. Do I trust really that this 42-year-old guy is not just going to say no, because men who have that kind of knowledge with their inflated egos want their ego stroked and would kind of just not want you to be with another guy, just kind of keep you single because they're getting some type of individual attention from you, like, oh, no, give me the next guy. No, give me the next guy. No, let's try again. Oh, do you know, sister, he's not the one for you. Oh, do you know, sister, it was like this. Do you know what I've been thinking? Yeah, you have certain kind of. It just becomes a bit weird. Now, obviously, you'd have to plan it in a way so that the guy doesn't really interact with the girl Because if he did, I just think men are weird, man. I just think men are weird. So I don't look. I don't think it matters that people are married and people have kids. I think look, you're either the kind of person you're the type of person that has decided to be loyal, and I'm going to stick in my marriage for whatever reason. But shaitan is real, bro. Shaitan is real. So I don't know if is 42 and 25. Is it that is it that unrelatable? Like a 40-year-old and a 25-year-old. Is it that unrelatable? You go and Google some of the 40-year-olds that exist. These guys are good looking guys, man, in their prime. Men make money later in life now. Men start getting it together in their early 30s. And by the 40s, they're absolutely killing it. Is that going to be so? Is this 25-year-old girl going to be so like, oh, she's just young to me? Is she heck? It's good. A guy who got all of this money and wants his ego stroked, he's going to come and be like, yeah, that guy's not for you, you know. Yeah, this guy's not for you, you know. Yeah, and just start being weird, and it's going to get too complicated. So, who would I trust to do it? Me and my brother. And my brother wouldn't do it because he's on other things, right? Or maybe he would for the right price. So I would trust myself to do it. And I'm not doing it. There's no way I'm doing it. I mean, I would do it very professionally. I do laugh about and joke on these podcasts because I like to have a laugh. But it's something that I would have loved to have done. It's a business idea that I thought, oh, that would make so much money. If Muzmatch is killing it, don't tell me the Wally guys ain't gonna smash it. Yeah, that is a money maker. You'll get rich so quick. If you want to hire me, I mean, what I am willing to do is if you want to do some kind of Zoom calls, or if you want to do some like Patreon calls and people can call in, or we can do a live session sometimes and I can give some advice in that kind of way, I'm happy to do something like that. But Wally service, no. It's a bit too complicated for me. So if you do want to do it, just shout me out first. If you need some plans on how to do it, discuss it with me. But if I think that you're techie, if I think that you're the weirdo that's a 40-year-old trying to thinking, oh, I can get this stream of 22-year-old women from all these different cultures trusting me to vet their man, money, women, I'm not going to cooperate or collaborate with you. That was my Wally idea. I thought that was funny. Assalamu alaikum.